Folks, hit the video, please. This is Dr. Neil Spector, one of the nation's top oncologists. He led a charmed life. He was educated at prestigious universities, trained at top medical centers, and had married the woman of his dreams. If it was too perfect, maybe it was. In 1994, it all came crashing down, he says. He and his wife lost 2 unborn children, and a mysterious illness brought him to the brink of death.
Right. His heart was so badly damaged, he was told he would have 72 hours to live unless he got a transplant. Nobody knew what was going on with him. He was very, very sick.
It's all in his new book. It's called Gone in a Heartbeat, A Physician's Search for True Healing. Dr. Neil Spector, welcome to Good Day.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So you were running basically 10 miles. You were in great shape. You were out there. You're a big oncologist. You're saving lives. And yet you were very, very sick, deathly sick.
I was. And the worst part about it is that I knew that there was something really wrong with me.
What did they think was wrong with you?
Well, initially they told me I was stressed, that I was, writing grants. I was having a very busy career. I had a laboratory doing basic cancer research. I was taking care of very sick patients, undergoing bone marrow transplants. And so they said, we think you're stressed. They couldn't find anything wrong.
And what happened?
So what happened was that I went 4 years having all sorts of heart manifestations, arrhythmias, and eventually it became so apparent that something was wrong. So the electrical wiring in my heart essentially shut down, and I needed a pacemaker.
And you were how old at the time?
I was, I was 30, in my late 30s.
So you went to all these doctors looking for help, trying to figure it out, and then one day the light bulb goes off in your head?
Yeah.
And you say basically?
So I say that, look, I lived in Boston. I ran through the woods. I never remembered getting bitten by a tick, but I put the pieces together. I had what they call third-degree heart block, which again means that the wiring system isn't working, a manifestation of Lyme disease. I developed arthritis and was given an antibiotic for a different reason, doxycycline, which is the drug, one of the drugs that's used for Lyme disease, and my arthritis resolved. And so I said, I've gone from running Boston marathons to being unable to walk 10 yards without being completely fatigued. There's something wrong, and it has to be Lyme disease.
It's pretty wild that, though, I mean, here you are, you're a physician, you're connected at one of the greatest universities in the world,
Duke.
And they say stress.
Yeah.
That was their diagnosis for years.
Right. So I wasn't at Duke at that time. But you're right, all of the doctors just thought I was stressed. They were very compassionate. My doctors were wonderful, but they didn't put the pieces together.
So when you finally put the pieces together and said, I think I have Lyme's disease, what happened?
It didn't end there. Sadly, I was even more frustrated because the first test that I had for Lyme disease did not come back completely positive. We could get into a whole discussion of what that means, but I was told you don't have Lyme disease. In fact, my test was not negative. It just wasn't positive by the criteria that had been established, which is probably forcing people to fall through the cracks, to be honest.
I've never heard of Lyme disease leading to a heart transplant, and that's what happened here. Your heart was that damaged by the disease.
It was that damaged by the disease. So I had the test repeated multiple times, and finally the diagnosis was confirmed, and I had aggressive antibiotic therapy, and a lot of my symptoms resolved, but the damage to the heart was permanent.
Well, it's all chronicled in a book called Gone in a Heartbeat, A Physician's Search for the Healing. So I know sometimes Lyme disease can be chronic.
Yes.
So now you have the new heart.
Right.
How do you feel?
So I'm lucky. I feel great. I mean, the heart, it took a while to get beyond the transplant, but I'm coming up on 7 years. I'm running half marathons. Yeah, thank you. So I feel fantastic.
And the heart, I'm always fascinated by this. Do you know anything about the person, the donor?
So I know a little bit about the donor. I know I have a female heart, so whenever I get emotional, I just say that it's my female heart that's acting out.
You seem more empathetic these days.
I'm very empathetic, although I was never one of those, mean doctors that needed to go through this.
Are there any emotional side effects, seriously, with the heart?
So let me tell you an interesting story. I don't want to ruin the story in the book, but when I got out of the hospital from the transplant, I was clicking through the channels and came across HGTV. Now, I'd never watched HGTV in my life.
House and Garden Television?
Well, actually, it was House Hunters International. Yeah, House and Garden.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah. But House Hunters International, I became fixated on the show for no apparent reason. And in fact, as a diehard basketball fan, you know, and I live in Chapel Hill and work at Duke, I gave up Duke UNC basketball tickets, which is saying something, to watch an HGTV special. Amazing.
And do we know your donor? Was she into that stuff?
You know, I never found out. I became fixated. I started to like dark chocolate, which I never liked before.
Wow.
And there were some songs that would trigger an emotional reaction for reasons that I never could quite figure out.
That's kind of wild.
So you're feeling okay now. You're feeling good.
I feel great,
You got
knock
the
on
book
wood.
out. What advice do you have to people out there right now who are either suffering from Lyme disease or maybe concerned about, you know, the summer's here, lots of bugs?
Right. So my message is you have to be your own advocate. You know, people are intimidated by physicians. No one knows you better than you. So if you don't believe what you're hearing, and that's not to be in denial, you need to seek the right answers. There are physicians who are very experienced at treating Lyme disease, and you shouldn't be suffering. We need more research in this area. That's one of my missions, is to raise awareness that this is not a disease that's easily diagnosed and easily cured, as many believe.
Right. It's chronic. You can live with it for many years.
People live with this. People have had this for decades. And they suffer, you know, cognitive, memory loss, chronic pain. You know, fortunately, a lot of people are cured, but we don't understand why others are not. And it's also just, it's not one disease. So there's Lyme disease and there's other infections people get. But you have to be tenacious in taking care of yourself.
Real quick, when you were bitten by that tick, you said you like running in the woods. Were you running like in the woods or along country roads? I actually like the woods myself, but you know.
I used to run in the woods.
In the woods.
I won't do that again.
You
Right.
won't.
Right.
That's
I will
it.
not do that again.
Okay, no, same here.
Dr. Neil Spector, the name of the book is, Greg?
Gone in a Heartbeat, a physician's search for true healing. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you.